On this week's episode, the main event of Godzilla vs. Kong begins. Blockbuster Video continues to live on, and is it time to return to arcade? All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glasser from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows, and if you can, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at Pop Culture Cosmos, popculturecosmos.com, or anything else that we do right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, including our amazing tabletop games we run virtually every day on Pop Culture Cosmos on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. It is sincerely appreciated. Multiverse without my good friend. He's our own Blockbuster Video of Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to check out what he's doing today at popculturecosmos.com. His awesome book, Congratulations, You Suck, which you can get right now at Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com, plus his shows, Topicocalypse and the Super BS Gamescast. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. What's up, man?
What's going on, man? Not much. Just here, here doing pop culture stuff.
Well, I truly appreciate you stopping by on today's program. As we noted before, celebrating his 5th anniversary is our good friend indeed, Marcus de la Garza. So we want to give him another shout out. So hopefully he's doing well. We want to thank you for stepping in on today's program. We've got a lot to talk about, my friend, because we've got, here we go now. Here we go. Yes, Godzilla versus Kong. The battle is finally live and playing all over the world. We have some thoughts on it. I've seen it. I know a lot of people are talking about it already, so we have some thoughts already on it on today's program. We also want to talk about, speaking of Blockbuster Video and Josh's shirt, he obviously has a love and affection for the nostalgia that is Blockbuster Video, but Blockbuster Video is coming up in the news recently with The Last Blockbuster on Netflix. Josh is going to share some thoughts on The Last Blockbuster on Netflix. Plus, I also have an interview as well with a guy who was actually on that documentary and has his own Amazon best-selling book out right now. And this is one you got to catch. Please check out this book if you're interested at all in culture of the past couple decades, past 3 decades, plus also as well just the whole Blockbuster Video phenomenon. And if you're interested in reading more about it, Built to Fail, the inside story of Blockbuster's inevitable bust. It's a Amazon bestseller, and I have the author, Alan Payne, coming up on the back end of the show, plus the controversy, plus the controversial game that's out plus the controversial game that's coming out later this year, 6 Days in Fallujah. A lot of controversy with that game when it originally was supposed to come out over a decade ago, and also the possibility of it may or may not be coming out later this year. I'm going to be talking to TJ Johnson coming up here in a bit about that as well. Plus, we've got American Gods being canceled by Starz, the return of CSI, of all things, coming to CBS, and we return to Arcade Paradise coming up on the back end of the show as well. But first up, my friend, it is Godzilla versus Kong. Here we go. I want to hear your thoughts, man. Here we go. Have you had a chance to check out Godzilla versus Kong?
I have not, so I'm sorry to disappoint on that front. But I have been reading about it, and people seem to enjoy it a lot more than the last one. They're saying that, like, how we're talking about in King of Monsters, the humans kind of took a back seat to just the chaos of the monsters. From what I've read, and I know you've seen it, it sounds like in this one the humans have more of a story. But go ahead and tell me what are your thoughts?
That is part of the problem, my friend, because there's a lot of action in it. I will give it that. And the director who was just tapped to be the director of the upcoming Thundercats movie. So this guy is obviously riding high on the success of it because it's right now one of the most successful movies of the pandemic era. So a lot of people are really getting excited over it because it's had great opening day numbers here in the United States for the limited number of theaters that are open. Plus worldwide, it's getting a lot of box office acclaim. I will say that I did get a chance to check it out, and it does have a lot of action, but to me, it doesn't have enough action because anytime it gets away from the action, the movie, it just, you have to leave your brain at the door. You have to leave your brain and anything remotely conceivable to any type of believability. You have to leave that at the door because it is the proverbial popcorn flick. It is something that if you're going to go ahead and try to break it down, it's just going to hurt your brain because it doesn't make sense. And it really doesn't make any sense once people start talking, people start communicating, it gets boring, it slows down. So thankfully there's only about 20 minutes or so of the 2-hour movie. Most of it is the action, and that's what we really want to see. But even the action itself is kind of funny because Kong gets his butt kicked every single time. So you're wondering, you gave Kong the steroids over the fact that he was quite a bit larger than he was in Kong Skull Island. I mean, a lot larger. So you gave him the steroids to go ahead and match up mano a mano against Godzilla, and he gets his butt kicked every time. And then there's a new monster to come into play, and how that monster is created and how that monster comes to life. It totally goes off the rails there. And I will say this, that I think my daughter said it best when we were talking about Godzilla versus Kong and who won during the course of the movie. And she told me, I think she said it best. She said, Dad, I don't think anybody, Dad, when it concerns who won or who lost in Godzilla versus Kong, I think the moviegoer is the one that lost.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do they eventually say like why they're fighting? I mean, is that like a?
Not really. They don't go really into depths on that. I mean, and then they talk about going into a place like I don't want to. Again, you haven't seen it, so I don't want to go into too many spoilers. But they go into a place that makes it even highly more unbelievable as far as for an area that Godzilla, that Kong can be. And then there's a certain artifact that only Kong can hold that will help him in his battles, and then you see that being utilized, and it just goes into it goes off the rails, and it goes off the rails very quickly. Again, the battles are pretty cool. Amazing how all these buildings are destroyed and no one dies seemingly in this movie.
That's kind of how the last one was too.
Yeah. They took a page out of Zack Snyder's BVS rule after what happened in Man of Steel. I guess nobody wants to see that happening. But yes, tons of buildings are destroyed, and we're assuming tens of thousands of people got killed during the course of this movie, theoretically. But it's just the battles are kind of cool, especially the sea battle. I think the sea battle is probably the best thing about it. They did have battles in the city and whatnot, but. And then there's also a third monster that gets involved in how this monster gets created and comes to life. I think it jumps the shark. I think of any movie you want to see. I don't know. It's popcorn. It's a popcorn flick. Shut off your brain. You're going to be able to be entertained for 2 hours. And for me, I give it a 5.5 out of 10. It's there. It's laughable for all the wrong reasons. The dialogue is terrible. The story and plot lines are unbelievable and awful. The special effects with the monsters are tremendous. The special effects not utilizing the monster or having monster being the primary focal point are not so good. But again, overall, I think it's something that, just shut off your brain and have some popcorn and have a fun time.
It seems like it's a spectacle film.
It is a spectacle film. Yes, okay. That it is. Yeah. It's something that I think anybody who's out there just to go ahead and have a good time, or just to want to see a movie again at the movie theaters. If you're going out to the movie theaters, I guess go ahead and checking anything large or substantial, or it's probably going to be a movie that you forget about in a year's time, because it just has those elements of something that it was there, you saw it, it came and gone. It's kind of the whole movie has some ridiculous premises right and left, and again, it'll just leave you scratching your head if you try to go into some deep thinking about it. So try not to. But it's a movie. The movie's going to be a financial success, and I think that's what's most important here.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like they were trying to be like a deep philosophical film. They just wanted to like really give you an excuse to see two monsters smashing things, and it sounds like they succeeded in that aspect. Like it's pure spectacle. Like it has no purpose beyond that, and that it answers that age old question, like who. Well, I guess from what you're saying, it doesn't, but like everyone always says, like what would happen if King Kong fought Godzilla, and I don't think they really wanted anything else from that besides that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for something deep as far as a storyline is concerned, go somewhere else, because you're not going to find it in Godzilla versus Kong. But what are your thoughts out there on Godzilla versus Kong? Here we go. Are you ready to go ahead and check out Godzilla versus Kong, or have you already? We want to hear your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, before we hit the break, my friend, and TJ Johnson, I just want to run down a couple things, including the last Blockbuster on Netflix. You're wearing the Blockbuster shirt. You're involved with that nostalgia, which I touched upon in my interview with Alan Payne, which is coming up here in a few minutes. But I wanted to hear your thoughts on the last Blockbuster on Netflix, which he was a part of as well.
So I actually haven't gotten to watch this yet.
I thought you said you were.
No, I said I would try to. I can't. It's hard for me to do stuff like that during the week. So, okay. It's on my list of things to do this weekend. No, I'm excited to watch it. Hearing you talk about Alan Payne and talk about the movie itself, like I am excited, and I do. I would love to visit the last Blockbuster. I've watched. That's in Washington, right?
It's in Bend, Oregon.
Bend, Oregon. Yeah. So I mean, I've seen like little mini YouTube docs about it, and like it's just like it does bring back a lot of nostalgia. Like we all have those memories, right, of going to Blockbuster and waiting in line and waiting by the return counter to see if someone returned the movie you wanted to watch, or really just like going in and not being able to pick up the back of a movie, look at it, see if it's something you want to watch. I don't know. I miss those days. I don't have stuff like that anymore.
No. And it's so funny because there is one left. And I think that last Blockbuster is not going away anytime soon because of the nostalgia fact, because people will try to keep it open, and people will keep supporting it by buying shirts like the one you're wearing now. They'll go there and they'll do what they can to support it, because it's a part of their history, a part of their memories, and a part of their nostalgia that they have from the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah, so I actually got there's a Blockbuster, like I guess you could call it a board game, but I got that, and we were playing it a couple months ago, and it's fun. It has like little trivia cards, and you can build the Blockbuster sign, and it's got a parking lot, and you put cards in the parking lot to do certain things. There's a lot out there, man. Like there's Blockbuster t-shirts, you see going to like Spencer's now, you see like Blockbuster blankets and hats and stuff like that. Like it's such a shame that it's become such like a pop culture phenomenon, but the people who are like pushing it are people who don't know what it is. It's like when you hear kids go, "What's in the box?" and they've never seen Seven before. That's what this feels like. And it's such a shame too, because like I feel like this culture, amongst any culture, it could really benefit from having that Blockbuster experience.
Want to be careful, man. There's someone right outside your window stalking you, making sure that he's stalking you, waiting for you to go ahead and drop off that copy of Spider-Man 2. Drop off that copy of Spider-Man 2. He's waiting for you. He's right outside.
Yep, they're waiting. They want that copy of Mr. Deeds really bad.
Exactly. I'm not going to say I never did that, and I never gave the side-eye stalking outside the store. Oh, somebody has that copy. They're turning it in. Ooh, good. That's the one I wanted. All right.
Did you ever go in and you had money to rent a movie, but instead you blew it on a previewed movie that you liked?
I'm not going to answer that question.
I've done that. Did that.
Yeah. Okay. I'll answer it. Yes, I have done that as well. So, yeah. What can I say? It was the life back then. I mean, you're like, oh, that's cool. I want to get this movie. You want to go in. So you go in. It's like when you go in to a store and you go in for a specific thing and you end up coming out with something else, either that you didn't want necessarily, or you're just getting it, or that you go, ooh, I didn't know that was here. I think I'll rent that instead.
Yeah.
And then you bring it home to the missus and she's not exactly too thrilled that she did. So.
Yes. What I do miss, especially with Blockbuster, is being able to rent video games. That's something that's an experience you don't really get anymore. You can stream them via Xbox Games Pass, or you can buy them, do it digitally online, or go to the store. But you can't rent games anymore. You can't
GameFly and Redbox are they're not exactly.
Yeah, Redbox doesn't do it anymore though.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, and their slogan is still rent, or we have something about games and movies, but they only do movies. And then GameFly is, from what I understand, it's really hard. They only have so many copies now, and so it takes forever to get the games you actually want to play.
Yeah. Again, those days are going by, but it's so cheap now to get some of these games digitally. It's really hard to go ahead and justify renting anymore. So we'll see what happens, my friend. I mean, paying $7-8 for only 2-3 days was something that, it got harder and harder to go ahead and be part of that market, simply because of the fact it just got so expensive to go ahead and rent games, and it got so much cheaper to buy them.
Yeah, but that was the premier destination for kids in elementary school who are going to have sleepovers and stuff. They go to their parents and have them rent them you can rent consoles too. You can rent the Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, get a copy of Mortal Kombat or Primal Rage or Mario Kart, whatever it was. You could go there. They had everything you needed for a successful sleepover at Blockbuster. The video game consoles, the videos, the candy, the popcorn. They had everything. It was your one-stop shop for Friday night. And it's a shame that experience is gone.
You know why Blockbuster folded?
Tell me why.
Because you weren't part of the marketing department. There you go. You just had the perfect
slogan. Did you hear my slogan right there? Yeah, your one-stop shop for Friday night.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying, man. Too late. Well, what can I say? It's still a part of our culture, part of our nostalgia and pop culture. As Josh has said, you can actually get Blockbuster video products all over the place. But if you can, please support The Last Blockbuster on Netflix, and support The Last Blockbuster if you're in the area of Bend, Oregon, right there at the final Blockbuster right there. So if you get a chance, check out The Last Blockbuster on Netflix. Our guest coming up at the back half of the show is Alan Payne, an author who wrote an awesome book. And that book, again, is called Built to Fail, The Inside Story of Blockbuster's Inevitable Bust. He is actually in The Last Blockbuster on Netflix, so hopefully you'll check him out on his appearance there as well.
Can I just compliment this book cover? This is really cool.
Yeah. It's been a good book. I enjoyed it. I finished it, and it's a really good time. I highly recommend it. It's a really good book to get the inner workings of Blockbuster, some of the decisions that were made, and obviously hindsight now being 2020, you see how the story unfolded from somebody who got to see glimpses of what it was like inside as he was experiencing it as a franchisee owner of Blockbuster. So definitely check out my interview coming up here in a few minutes, right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos of Alan Payne, the author of Built to Fail, The Inside Story of Blockbuster's Inevitable Bust. That's coming up here in a few minutes. But right after the break, it is my good friend, TJ Johnson. He's here to talk about 6 Days in Fallujah and the controversy surrounding it. And also as well, his thoughts on Godzilla versus Kong as well. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the show. This is the PCC Multiverse. Want to thank so much Alan Payne, the author of Built to Fail, the inside story of Blockbuster's inevitable bust, for being on the program today. Please go get his Amazon best-selling book right now. You want to go ahead and check that out. Not only on Amazon, you can go ahead and get it at Barnes & Noble, the same places where you can go ahead and get Josh's Congratulations, You Suck. Buy them both. Do a double book buying right there at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Plus, also as well, I want to thank TJ Johnson for stopping by and sharing his thoughts on the controversial game 6 Days in Fallujah and also Godzilla versus Kong as well. But my friend, before we head on out, some quick TV and video game thoughts. American Gods just got canceled for season 4. And I also want to say that they're thinking at Starz about doing a movie, but the producers are trying to shop around for maybe another season or whatnot on another outlet, like we've seen from some other shows that were able to go ahead and latch on to some other streaming outlets. I want to hear your thoughts on American Gods getting canceled on Starz, and do you think it deserves another run?
So I've only seen the first season. I keep wanting to watch the rest of it, but it's such a dark show. It's so heavy that it's not like something you want to turn on at the end of the day to kind of like shut your brain off to go to sleep. Like, it's not that kind of show. It's the kind of show where like you have to like be alert to watch it, and you have to be able to like not become depressed from watching things, because that's what that show does to you. It puts you in a very dark mindset, and like it makes you think about, it portrays the world and like the things that we what's the word,
well, you're trying to put it on a pedestal.
Yeah, all the things that we put on all the things that we worship, like in the real world, like everything like that is embodied in this show. And so it's a very dark show. It's also a very deep show. And so that being said, like I can see why it is being canceled. You know, I can see why it is kind of met its end. And then it had that controversy too with Orlando Jones, was his name, or from, right? He got fired over something. And I just remember that it was all over the news for
I think you're right. I think you're right on that. So yeah, there was a lot of controversy with that. But then again, I don't know. I just think it had run its course. I think it had been something that on Starz, it's really hard to, I guess, keep a show like that running, because Starz is not a premium outlet anymore. It was at the beginning. It was of American Gods. It was something that it was the premier show on that outlet, but I don't see now in the days of Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, Apple Plus, HBO Max, I don't see Starz holding out much longer. I don't see a big future for Starz, and obviously this was not getting the returns that it once did.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. And Starz is kind of a weird station because people don't subscribe to Starz. Like it comes with cable packages, but yeah, they don't subscribe to it. So that being said, you know, you have you look at a show like Black Sails, right? That's the prequel series to Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island. Everyone kept hoping they were going to see like a Treasure Island show, but that never materialized because things on Starz seemed to lose steam really quick. And though Neil Gaiman's American Gods show was good and people enjoyed it, it's something that fizzled out real quick. And the only thing that seems to have any like lasting momentum on Starz is Outlander.
Absolutely. That's the only thing that seems to be continuing on. If let's just say Starz decided to fold up tomorrow, I see Outlander getting picked up by a Netflix or something like that.
Yeah.
I think
it would be on Netflix already too.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. See, you're able to see the old episodes there and whatnot. So I see that being picked up real easily and having a life into and of its own. But anything else on that channel is going to be hard. And then you see what happens with American Gods, which many thought was the second show behind Outlander as far as popularity is concerned. That's the case. Obviously, it's not been good enough for Starz, and Starz is going to have a struggle to go ahead and keep staying around for the long term. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah.
What are your thoughts out there on American Gods being canceled? Do you want do you want to see another season? Are you looking forward to maybe a movie finality for it as being talked about for Starz, or would you like to see it on another outlet getting some more love? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. One more show that's in the news, and for you CSI fans out there, this came out of the blue, but not quite unexpected. That CSI Vegas, as it's being called now, even though the original CSI was based in Las Vegas, according to what everybody saw on the show each and every week, that's being picked up again by CES as a continuance of the series in a fashion, but it is being renamed CSI Vegas. It's going to be it's going to be developed for CBS. William Peterson and Georgia Fox, two of the major names from that series, are returning to the show in a full-time status. Plus, maybe one or two of the regulars are being added, but a whole bunch of new people are being added into the mix. CSI was a show that dominated the ratings in the earlier part of this century and was one time the #1 television show in the world. And for a while, it was the thing. It had spin-offs, CSI Miami, CSI New York.
Didn't it have Ted Danson in the end of it?
Yeah, it had Ted Danson. That I think he was there for a season or two, playing the role that William Peterson was playing before, after he left, because William Peterson left the show, and that led to Lawrence Fishburne having a major role in it, and Ted Danson having a major role in it. As the series was losing its popularity, but I guess the fact that it's lived on forever in reruns, and because there's so many episodes of it now, and it's lived on so well in reruns that CBS is saying, you know what, now's the time to bring it back. People are still digging something similar to it in NCIS, and all the NCIS shows that are out there. Maybe we need to bring this back. I think it's a great idea. I mean, worst comes to worst, you could go ahead and put it on streaming outlets if it doesn't materialize well for CBS. But your thoughts on returning to the world of CSI?
I don't know. I don't really have any thoughts on this. It's a show that I grew up with. I remember Thursday nights watching. That theme song played, and I remember staying up with watching the show with my mom and dad. It's kind of like a family night for us, just sit at home, watch CSI. I remember it had some really weird stuff on it sometimes, because there's only so many ways that you could kill people and have the mystery get solved, that they really had to spin some yarn sometime. And you're it was almost like, what was that show on Spike TV, 1,000 Ways to Die? It almost seems like they were taking notes from that sometimes. And so I watched that one. I watched CSI Miami for a little bit. What was the main character in that show's name? Was Horatio or something?
It's David Caruso playing Horatio. I relived that moment where he walks away from a car that's blowing up. Every time my brackets blow up on the NCAA tournament, I always replay that meme. It's kind of fun.
He always pushes his glasses up his nose, or moves them down and looks over the top of them. That was his thing. And then I never watched CSI New York or CSI. There was another one, wasn't there?
No, I think that was it. Just the 3.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just it became really old really quick. And that being said, people who watch TV in 2021, they're always looking for something new. So that makes me believe that this show this revive probably won't last very long.
You never know, my friend. NCIS is still dominating the ratings, and it's been out coincidentally just as long as CSI was around that time. Because remember, CSI had been around over a decade before it started its downward turn. And we're seeing the same thing with NCIS being still at the top of the heap, but it's now seeing, it's seen 15 plus years. So a lot of people are checking that out. So maybe, again, there might be a fascination with CSI. I'm not going to count CSI out, but you could be right. There could be that initial nostalgic kick, and then who stays with the series. That amount of people will have to wait and see who sticks with it. Or is there going to be that same charm? I remember when I was managing a rental car facility, and guests would come flying down to visit Las Vegas for the first time, and they would ask me about all the fictional hotels that were in the show. because they would name like a MGM, or they name it like a Bellagio, but they would also have like fictionally named hotels, and actually have a superimposed CGI hotel in the middle of it.
Mhm.
And it's funny, people would always ask me about those hotels, and I'm like, I hate to tell you, you can't have lunch there because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, what CSI did do for me, in terms of like the Las Vegas hotels, was make me not want to stand by the window too long. Because either somebody was going to, or someone's going to come up behind you and push you off the balcony. Like that made me very weary of Las Vegas hotel windows.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to go ahead and see what's going to happen if the nostalgia and love for CSI will return in CSI Vegas. Who are you? Who when it comes to CSI Vegas? And are you excited for a return to crime scene investigation? I know for the show, there was actually a live show that they did here at the MGM for the longest time, even after it canceled. So I know here in Vegas, the love for CSI is still here. But do you still have the love for CSI Vegas when it returns to CBS in the not too distant future? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode, but before we head on out, are you ready to return to Arcade Paradise? It's an interesting game. I sent over the actual article for it, as far as that showed you the debut trailer for a game that's kind of different. I mean, I guess you're the owner of a laundromat and you're given clearance to expand it with more washers and dryers, and in turn, instead you try to relive the nostalgia of bringing in arcade games. And I guess you go and progress through the game by playing all these different arcade games. So I want to hear your thoughts on returning to Arcade Paradise.
It looks interesting. I've been reading about it here. It doesn't. If it's like an arcade builder, like a simulator, that would be fun. But it sounds like you're really just playing through a bunch of like old arcade games. And like in that case, I don't know how interested I am in that, because I'm not very good at the old arcade games. My wife is like constantly beating me in Galaga. So I don't know like how interested I would be in something like that.
It's going to be for me a little bit interesting because the fact it does take me to my times back playing in the arcades every day, and always going to the mall to go have a great time, and then checking out places like a laundromat or a liquor store to play the latest arcade games that were shuttled around all the time. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm not overly excited for it. It all depends on the actual arcade games you're going to play. Are they actually going to be real licensed games, or are they going to go ahead and be simulations of games that were played, or like simulations of games that were played around that era? So I don't know. I have to wait and see. I'm holding out hope that it'll be something worth going into. I don't understand the real world part of it. Are you trying to expand your laundromat, forward? Are you trying to expand your arcade database? I don't really get how it's an action adventure game outside of what you do as far as the arcades are concerned, but I'm intrigued. Nonetheless, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I mean it looks interesting. I'm gonna wait until you play it, and then you can tell me if it's good or not, and then I'll decide my time with it based on that.
What are your thoughts out there on returning to Arcade Paradise? Are you interested in this upcoming game that's going to bring back the world of the arcades, or at least in the confines of a laundromat as concerned? So we want to hear your thoughts. If you're intrigued with Arcade Paradise like we are, share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. I cannot thank you enough for sitting in the big chair on the Friday show for Mr. Marcus de la Garza, who I'm expecting to come back next week. Looking forward to that. Any last thoughts on the way out?
I don't think so. We'll have to talk about the Suicide Squad trailer next time we talk. But yeah, I think we covered it all.
Absolutely. We'll talk about Suicide Squad, possibly even Falcon and Winter Soldier. How's that progressing? Because episode 3 drops this weekend. I know a lot of people are still looking forward to that. They're going to be talking to Baron Zemo here upcoming in the near future, so we'll see where that goes. But there's so much still to talk in pop culture, and we're looking forward to it. And Josh and I will return to you Monday right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Also want to make sure everybody knows out there that part 2 of our WrestleMania preview with John Orlando from the PVD cast, that's going to drop on Monday as well. So looking forward to it. Josh, cannot thank you enough as always, and I'm looking forward to seeing you Monday right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. This is another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great